Fantastic. Yes. Hello, everybody, and hello, Stan. And welcome to Impact Hub here in Visby this Thursday morning. We are a bit of a aftermath here in Visby after a terrible murder happening just a few hundred meters from our tent. But this is the last day in Visby, and we wanted to invite the founder and director of Impact Hub Odessa to our tent to talk a little bit about his experience in being in a country at war and operating, and what's the status there, how he's been doing up until now, and how he looks at the future. So this is Stan, our good friend and colleague from Impact Hub Odessa. Please, Stan, the stage is yours. How are you doing?
Oh, fine, thank you. Hello, everyone. So I'm the program director, so I'm the person in Impact Hub that was writing programs for the last hard years. So what is happening now with Impact Hub Odessa? Since the war started, it was really hard for us to keep on operate because we've lost almost all of our residents who mostly moved to Europe or moved to the western part of Ukraine. And the same with me. On the first day of war, I've had to take my family with me and move to the small village in the Carpathian Mountains. But I still visit Odessa. And what is now happening with Impact Hub Odessa, our financial model, our business model is totally broken, the same as the economy, especially in Odessa. Thus, in Odessa, there is no land attacks. We, as probably you know, we are being bombed at least several times a week. But it's not only about the bombs that are falling down or the rockets that are falling down. It's also about the entrepreneurship, which has changed in many ways. About 30% of our country's economy is down. So from the first days, we've seen as lots of businesses have tried to move or to Europe or to the western part of Ukraine. We see our residents, our partners that are moving their offices from the first days, and during the first 2 months, mostly the businesses have moved or stopped. If you would, some people from Impact Hub community were in Odessa 3 years ago when we've held our gathering, European gathering, as Jasper, for example, but he would not recognize Odessa nowadays. Once tourist place, touristic city, now it's almost empty. If you walk by the main streets, you will see the closed restaurants and cafes. If you go to the beaches, as we are standing on the shore of the Black Sea, you will see nets and army officers who would take care for people not to go swimming in the sea. And even if we have such a security since the last 2 months, when the sea is warm, we've had 4 people who had blown up on the mines. So it's very hard to be entrepreneurial. When it means to be entrepreneurial, it means to take risks. It's hard in a real normal life, but when there is war outside and when there are rockets flying over your head and when there are sirens 4 or 5 times a day, starting from 5 a.m. and ending at 1 or 2 a.m. We see that almost all the business has moved to the western part of the country. And if we are talking about numbers, that there are almost no new businesses starting in southern or eastern part of Ukraine. So Odessa is the southern part. So we do not see new businesses going on or starting. We see lots of charity, lots of volunteering organizations. The numbers are growing really, really fast. We have dozens of new humanitarian aid headquarters, which appears not only in the city center, but on the outskirts of our city. We see lots of businesses who provide their premises to the volunteer activities. For example, nowadays, all the first floor and the minus first floor, so like the underground of Impact Hub Odessa is used for voluntary projects for warehouses and the places where people who are running from work can get like primary humanitarian aid, like food, clothes, and consultations about where they can go. And we see that it's really hard to run business, and if we've had no savings, I think that Impact Hub, as well as me and my family, would be completely broken. So the only thing that we can do now is not like make business in the regular way, but make humanitarian projects, helping entrepreneurs to move their businesses to more safe place. Entrepreneurs who are trying to start new kind of activities, or help the entrepreneurs to switch the audience to European, for example. That's like the highest priority for Impact Hub Odessa nowadays. We've got some new partners, especially as I'm now in the Ivano-Frankivsk region. So we've met partnerships with the main players who are here, who have premises in here, who are willing to run incubational programs or supportive programs for the entrepreneurs who are now relocating their business. So what else? Oh, wait a second, there's some connection problem. Someone has sent me a message. The point is that in a personal, if talking about the personal story, I do understand that when you have a war in the country, you do not feel yourself free, and you are not free. I'm not free to choose where to live and where to work. I'm not free to plan what will happen next. For example, I've got a call to army about a month and a half ago. So I've passed my medical tests and everything, and I can go to army and I can go to frontline. So in any day I can be called, and I will have to take my clothes and go to the army office and go to the front line. And that's the same not only with me, but with all the men with a good health from 18 years old up to 55 years old. We cannot leave our country. And that's obvious that if the time will come, we will have to defend our land. But that's the psychological issue that I cannot plan in normal way. I should always have like people that do know what to do if I will go to army, for example. And it's really hard to plan activities. As you know, any entrepreneurial activity, it's not an activity for a month or two. It's always a plan or an idea how you would grow in years or in a decade. So we've lost that perspective as well as our freedom, because now war rules our lives. Mostly women from Odessa have left to Europe with the kids. So mostly we have men who are almost ready to go to the army inside our beautiful city of Odessa. But some businesses are trying to stay alive. For example, if you cannot go to the beach and you cannot swim in the city, the beach clubs, as we call them, are still operating, as they have these pools with seawater from one side, and from the other side there are army officers who are walking through these beach clubs and seeing a man and giving a paper of call to army. So it's a very strange time. I could never even imagine that I would live in this kind of situation. That's probably the answer for the first question, if it's okay. So we are not running as usual at Impact Hub. We have lost our commercial rent services at all. We have no events by the moment, but we are running as a voluntary headquarters with our partners and starting online projects with the partners from the Western Ukraine, with the audience of entrepreneurs who are moving their business or saving their business and their staff in the Western Ukraine.
Stan, thank you for sharing. It's really hard to take in all of this. I mean, it's been a week here with intense discussion about the future and what shall we do, you know, what's the resilience in creating partnerships and creating impact businesses, etc. But hearing you from your perspective, you know, it's really hard to, you know, grasp your situation, but thank you for sharing with us. There's some question that comes up to my head here, like how is your, you know, on a daily basis now? Do you stay in contact with your family? Do you have, you know, how does that work? Is it you know, just going up in the morning and not being able to plan anything? You know, what's the feeling here?
I believe that now some Ukrainians, maybe I'm one of them, are the experts of resilience, how to stay sane, how to stay active, although you cannot plan anything. And we do have our tips and tricks about staying resilient. Like, for example, since the war began, the first month, it was like horrible. All the Ukrainians were just sitting and reading news, and they were almost unable to act. So it was really hard even to comprehend what is happening. But since then, we found some, I could say, these tips and tricks. For example, the plan for a day. So, and there should be routine, obvious, and it should be stricted routine. For example, like yoga in the morning. It's not like the hobby or something you do for fun. It's the thing that it's like the really helping assistance of coping with what you're feeling. There's lots of free mindfulness courses that are running now in Ukraine. Mostly the practitioners of mindfulness are now sharing their practice for free. They're acting the same with yoga. Many instructors are giving the things for free. So the first thing is like physical activity, what we do. So we have to walk enough. We have to like do sports well more than often now, every day, because it's the only way to lower the level of stress. And of course, we try to do at least something to change the situation. We cannot stop Russia, but we can at least send money to our army. And every time I see, or my friends or my colleagues see any call to action, if you can send like €1, but we all send at least €1. Probably you've heard the story about like $10 million for Bayraktars that Ukrainian people had gathered during 2 days. So it's a crowdfunding campaign. It's a crowdfunding campaign which were held for 2 days, and they've got 10 million euros from regular people, from regular businesses. So it's the way we act. We collaborate in many ways. Now we have like some issue about Ukraine and Ukrainian culture of cooperation. It's sometimes really hard to cooperate as well. Somebody is willing to be the first one in this cooperation, but now it's gone. We see as the whole nation is now all together, and I'm happy that my family is with me, but I know that many families are divided, but we are still in contact, and we are still making everything from both sides of the border, from inside of Ukraine and from outside of Ukraine. I know that many families now are trying to get in touch for at least a week in a month to see, to meet. But I'm happy my family has only got like 3 weeks of I could say, normal, regular life as they spent it with my wife's sister in Poland. And I've been in Ukraine, but my family is back, so it's also a great support to see them. But I know that I'm not in majority about this. Most of my friends have their families in Europe, and we are all really grateful about the support and the help for all the countries of European Union and USA also, who are taking care of the women, of children who are now running from war. But we believe that mostly they will come back. Mostly they will come back. And also I have an elder son, and he's now in Ireland. He's 14 years old, as his school classes were only offline, and because of his isolation, we've made a decision that it's better for him to go to the European country, as he is like his English speaking person. So the best way was to send him to Ireland, and I see how the social services in Europe works. How do they work for the refugees from Ukraine? And I feel myself really grateful about this, because I do not worry about what is happening with my son, and I do not have to decide who should he be isolated in a small village on the outskirts of the Carpathian Mountains, or whether he should stay in Odessa in the constant terror of the rocket attacks. I know that he is in a good family, that there is a social worker who is constantly in contact with him, who is really clever, gentle, and taking care of him. And in many ways, it makes me more productive in here, because I do not need to be stressed about what's his future is, whether he will have his school running in September, because I do not know whether the Ukrainian schools will work. I know that 17,000 of teachers who are women are now in Europe. I know that hundreds of schools all around the Ukraine are bombed, destroyed to ashes, and hundreds are destroyed and thousands are damaged. So I don't know, but as for me, it doesn't sound like horrific anymore, and I don't think that it's normal. I could only consider how it sounds from your side, what I'm talking about, but we Ukrainians, we do believe that we will win. It's for us, it's 100%. We will win together, because we believe that those values we are standing for, those values are so important to all of us, not only to the Ukrainians, but to the whole world, like freedom of will, freedom to act, freedom to choose your destiny, freedom to be independent in your life. So these values are so important that we cannot fall, we cannot fail, we can only win. And we believe that we will rebuild everything with the help of the partners. We are ready for that. We are not frightened, what I can say.
Yes, Stan, there is really no way of putting myself in your shoes and feeling what you feel, right? I have kids of my own, and I've been away from them just for a week now. I still feel distance from them, and you've been away from your family now for a long time, and in a situation where you don't know how to plan for the next day, really. So and I believe what you're saying, that this, you must win this. I mean, the values that you stand for, and here in Almedalen, it's about democracy in its essence, really. So I'm super happy that we could have you here at this last day of Almedalen, when it's all about giving the freedom of speech, so that everybody has its saying. But I want to ask the people who are here with me today if they want to ask something for Stan here now from Odessa. If there is anything that springs to mind in your head that you want to express or that you want to ask Stan? That's okay. I'm also I was taking notes here while I was speaking. It was really hard to sort of get it all in and see how you can put decent questions to him. But if you want to end with something, I really appreciate you coming here, Stan, and also seeing that you are smiling in the midst of all of this. It's really great to see you. Is there anything that you feel that except for the charity and giving money and what we're doing right now that you feel that we could also do? Is there anything else that you feel like you're lacking support of, or if there's anything that we could do for you at this moment?
What I believe that I would ask you not to stop. I know that you do lots of things to help Ukrainians, not only refugees, but also people who are staying in Ukraine. And just what I ask for you, do not stop. It's like the drops of water, one after another. We should stay strong. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we have to keep on doing what we're doing. And the only thing we can do is to raise our resilience, is to take care of ourselves. I believe it's a kind of magic of the small steps. So just act every day, or be at least this small drop of water that will break the rock, I could say. If there will be millions of these water drops, we will change the situation. That's the only thing we can do now. So I know that it's impossible to be in our shoes now, and I believe that the only way not to be in our shoes for the whole Europe is to stay together, is to stay connected, is to not. So I believe that our main aim is to stay united. What I believe, it's our main aim. It's not to be isolated one from another, because like the main goal is not to break the Ukraine and make it part of the Russian Federation, the main aim of war. The main aim, as I believe, is to break our values, to show that democracy, that communications, that support and collaboration is not the values, is not the real values, is not the working values. The main aim is to show that strength, power, violence, lies, that's the values that act. That's the values that can get the result. So we should still be democratic. We should still be free. We should stand for those values together, and not only on our words, but on the small deeds. If you see something, a small act you can do today, just do it. Don't think that it's a small act. How can I, a small person, do? I cannot start the large project, or I cannot start the large collaboration. Even if you are a volunteer for one day, talking with the refugees in your city, or feeding them, or helping them to find house, even if you do this for one day, it's enough, because it's your small drop of water that is changing the situation. If we will do this for, and it's horrible to say, for years, we will win. If one day we will say that I'm tired of that, I cannot change it, I've made so much things and nothing has changed, then we lost. If one day we will be tired of everything, if we will not stand for the values, that's our lost. So that's the place where we will lost. And that's the place where those values like lies, aggression, power, they will win. when we will believe that we cannot change the situation, that democracy and freedom cannot win. So stay strong.
Stan. I mean, this is really powerful, and we will be behind you. We will never stop being behind you. And trust me, that I really feel like these marathon, these drops of water, eventually it will overflow, and we will stand united behind democracy and freedom. You know, because this is the most important values that we have together to stand behind. So I want to thank Stan for being with us here today, this last day of Almedalen, when it's all about the freedom of speech and getting everybody's voices heard. So Stan, it's an honor. It's a really true honor to have you here with us today. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just switch to the camera here so the audience can, give him a big wave and support from all of us here in Sweden. Take care, Stan, and take good care of your family, and God bless you, and stay safe, okay?
Thank you, Jesper.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.